Okay, so in the last, like I said, in the last lesson, we looked at quadrilaterals and four main types, um, rectangles, squares, rhombuses, and parallelograms. And we looked at all their different properties in terms of how the sides relate to each other, especially opposite sides, how the interior angles relate to each other, how we can draw diagonals in each of them, and how the diagonals relate to each other. So we're just going to take a little bit of extra time on parallelograms. Okay? And remember, a parallelogram is a type of quadrilateral where the opposite sides are parallel and the opposite sides are equal. And the interior angles, the opposite angles, the pairs of opposite angles in a parallelogram are equal. And an additional property, consecutive angles, which mean two angles that share a side, or at the ends of one side, those are actually supplementary, which means they add to 180 degrees. Okay? Because if you look at it, you can really see, like here's this angle, here's this angle. If we sort of slice them out and put them beside each other, it would look like that. Okay, like if we took this one over here, took this one over here, put them together, well, they form 180 degrees, right? Because those, half a circle is 180 degrees. So given the properties of the interior angles, given what we know about the opposite ones and the consecutive ones, in this example, how would we find the measures of angle A, B, and D? Well, first of all, what would angle A be? Same as angle C. Because they're opposite each other. What would angle B be? So we know this is 123 degrees. Remember, these two add up to 180. So to find B, I just have to do 180 minus 123. 57 degrees. And now that we know this one, D has to be the same as B, so D is also 57 degrees. Okay, some additional properties of parallelograms, especially their opposite sides. If the two pairs of opposite sides in a four-sided shape or quadrilateral are equal, it has to be a parallelogram. Has to be. It could be also a square, a rhombus, or a rectangle, but square, rhombus, and rectangle are all types of parallelograms. Okay? If one pair of opposite sides are the same and parallel, then the whole thing must be a parallelogram. So if we look at these examples to see which ones are parallelograms and which ones are not, well, here, first of all, we've got one pair of opposite sides that are equal, but are they parallel to each other? Do they look parallel? No. Okay, so yes, they're equal, but they're not parallel. And these sides are different as well, so this is not a parallelogram. And for shorthand for parallelogram, I'm just going to draw two slashes and brand. Save a little bit of time. How about this one? Yep, because opposite sides are parallel and are equal, which means the other two sides must be the same. So this is a parallelogram. This one here? Yeah, parallelogram. And the last one, just kind of obvious by looking at it. Yes, these opposite sides are equal, but they're sure not parallel. And both opposite sides have to be parallel, so definitely not parallel. Okay. And like I said, the relationship between these four quadrilaterals, you can kind of look at it like a diagram. Well, actually, you don't kind of look at it. You look at it as all of them are called parallelograms. Okay? That doesn't mean that all parallelograms are quadrilaterals. Okay, we can have four-sided shapes. I mean, trapezoid is obviously not, it's quadrilateral, but it's not a parallelogram. But of the ones that are parallelograms, we can break them further down to squares, rhombuses, and rectangles. So if we have a parallelogram, and usually a parallelogram looks like this. We usually show it slanted. If all the right angles, or if all the angles become right angles, what shape does it become? A square? A rectangle? Because I don't know if the sides are equal. So if all the angles become right angles, I know it's become a rectangle. Nice. If all the sides become equal, it becomes a what? Not a square. Because all the right angles, they're not right angles. What's the other type where they're all the same? Rhombus. If we sort of take a rectangle and a rhombus and combine them, all the sides are equal and all the interiors are right angles, we get a analysis. So parallelograms break down to rectangles if they're right angles, rhombuses if they're all equal, and then if we take those two and put them together, we get a square. That's sort of a visual representation of the certain types of quadrilaterals we looked at. Finally, so which of these ones above are regular? Remember, regular means they all have to have the same sides and they all have to have the same interior angles. The only one is a square. Okay. That's pretty much as far as we're going to go with quadrilaterals and the special types of quadrilaterals, trapezoids, parallelograms, rectangles, rhombuses, and squares. The next step is going to be to move to a different type of polygon, triangles, of which you have, you're very, very familiar with. A lot of it will be reviewed. Okay, but we'll start that.